Hello, Swwati Awasthi. You're here to say your piece with AD. So, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, Annie. How are you doing?
I mean, I don't necessarily feel that excitement, that palpable excitement that I was looking for, but I'm sure I'll be doing much better by the time we are done recording this podcast.
Yeah, okay. So it's actually 6:30 here and pretty much drained of my energy right now. So,
Wow, so like I've really selected a good time to get the ball rolling, yeah, because this happens
yeah.
to be like my first podcast,
Hmm.
and it's up to us to make sure that it's not my last. So no pressure whatsoever.
Okay.
And I must say that I happen to have gotten like on the right foot because one, I got the timing wrong. Originally scheduled to happen a few hours earlier. I managed to let the
Yeah,
time difference get in the way of my punctuality. So
it's
hopefully
all
all
right.
the entertainment I'll provide you through this conversation will make up for
I hope so too.
it. Because I'm transferring a little bit of the pressure back onto my shoulders.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
most conversations start with like a formal introduction where I boast about your accolades, tell the world what you've been up to, but I thought that that's a bit of a cliche, and if we really
Mm-hmm.
want to establish this, really get the ball rolling, then we should do something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I played a bit of stalker and I went through your Instagram profile to see what you had been putting up, what are some of the things that you've indulged in, and let me tell you some of the things that I found out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously, one, you're a mother. You
Okay.
paint,
Hmm.
sketch, and indulge in poetry. And
Right.
let me guess, you're secretly a Jason Momoa fan.
Yes, I am. I am. I'm
So,
also a Harvey Specter fan.
wow. So wait, I just make sure that we don't end up talking just about suits because I have
Okay.
a feeling like if we continue talking about Harvey Specter, we might go down that route. So let's just make
Yeah.
sure that we stick the course as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I mean, you obviously have sketched these gentlemen on your platform and showcased all of your art on Instagram. So is that something that you often do? Like, see someone or see a character and then put them down on paper?
No, actually, what you don't know is, and it's not there on Instagram because most of my earlier sketches are still lying in Kolkata, and I
Hmm.
haven't gotten chance to upload them yet. But they were like essentially just these faces of personalities, and what see with me, I need to connect with a character on a deeper level than just liking them
Mm,
to sketch them.
right.
So I have sketched only those people that I connect with on certain levels, you know. So the other day, my friend just came over and she said, "Why don't you sketch a picture of me, Swati? And it will be nice. I'll hang in my house or something like that." So I
Right.
was like, okay, okay.
In
And
back
I
of your
kept
mind,
dodging.
in
No, I
back of your
kept
mind, it's like,
dodging
how much
this.
do I charge this person, right? Like, I'm pretty sure
No,
that's
I was
something that
actually
went through
not
your
thinking
mind.
about charging because see, there are some friends who are like, good friends,
Uh-huh.
and there are some friends who are just, hi, hello friends.
Right.
So I can't be sketching them for sure because
So
I
wait,
need
where
to
do I
really, really
classify it?
connect.
Like, am I like a hi hello friend or am I like a good friend? Like, where are we going with this?
So I have known you only for a month, I think,
Okay,
and
so
we
that
still
answers the
have
question. Let's
to,
quickly move
yeah.
a bit of the conversation. That's great. That's great. Okay, okay. So, Swati, I actually happen to read quite a few books, and the first
Yeah,
thing that I do when I pick up a new book that I'm not acquainted with is
yeah,
read what's written at the back of it, like a small excerpt of sorts, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if I need to ask you, if
Hmm.
Swati Avasthi were a book, what would the excerpt read? Deep existential question right there.
Right. See, I generally prefer two kind of books. So one is a completely romantic book. It
Mm-hmm.
has to be a very, very sweet love story. It
Mm-hmm.
can be a tragedy.
All right.
And second, I like to read, Sidney Sheldon types, solving mysteries and stuff like that. So I like these two kind of books. But off late, I have been reading a lot of Gulzar. I have been reading Vishal Bharadwaj. So
Wait,
yeah,
wait. One second,
my
Swati. Are you trying to like make me draw an excerpt for you, like based on all of your existing interests? Like you want me to like paint you as a romantic who perhaps uses heartbreak as tragedy, but yet is curious enough to get down to the bottom of every mystery, yet has a
yeah,
poetic flair and therefore
yeah.
listens to, reads the words of the mighty Gulzar. Am I painting a good picture? Is that the
Of,
excerpt that would
yeah, and
be?
you might want to add that I have been a theater artist too.
Okay, wonderful. So drama as well. That's brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I was in theater in my college, and I in fact got Best Actress award for my first performance.
wa-
So the
okay. So
wonderful part
quickly
about
moving
that
on to the fact
was
you've just been boasting a little bit. Please
I
continue.
am.
I'm just joking.
I'm just trying to, open pages of myself in front of you, the things
Oh
that you
wow.
wouldn't
See,
know.
you're already being poetic with me already. Clearly, you have that flair. Yeah. So tell me, you were talking about your best actress prize or achievement.
Yeah, that was one of my most memorable moment because my parents were there as an audience, and I was performing in front of them for the first time. And receiving that Best Actress award was definitely a dream come true. And
Right.
I could see that that glint in your parents' eyes, and I was really proud that day. I was really really proud of myself.
Just a second, Swati. Sound guy,
Hmm.
can you please cue an awe about now? All right, we got the All right, perfect. So, all right, perfect.
Okay, Ani.
Hey.
Yeah.
Clearly, this podcast shouldn't be say your piece with AD. It's like speak for the little amount of time AD lets you speak. Okay, that's great. So, so after that quick critique of myself, you talk about how you won this Best Actress achievement, and
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
parents were there to witness you actually going through that phase. So, is that
Yeah.
how your experience or your endeavor with art started? Like starting off on stage, or was there another source of inspiration that got the ball rolling?
No, I think I have always been attracted to faces. So essentially, I used to, just sketch faces, be it a cartoon character or a comic character or anything. I remember my grandmother used to come over with those Diwali calendars in hand that we used to get in, loads of numbers from various my dad's business connects, and she would come with one picture and say, why didn't you sketch this, beta? And I would be like, yeah, yeah, I'm going to sketch that. So essentially, those calendars would have, a picture of a flower or a tree or a postcard sort of photograph, or, all the gods and goddesses.
Right.
So I would be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, none of them were of my interest at that point of time.
Wait. So let me guess. Do you have like a sketchbook, much like Jack had in the Titanic, and they're scattered with nudes?
No.
No. Okay.
I no.
Okay. All
I
right.
actually started with sketchbooks, but what happened was I end up giving up my sketches as gifts to people.
Right.
Even with my paintings and everything, I painted a mother and a daughter way before I got married and stuff. I painted it for my mom's room,
Hmm.
and it was liked by my Masi so much that she took it away, and she was like, "No, no, no, I'm nothing doing. I'm taking this." So, and that particular painting also had only just the face of a mother and a child.
Right.
So, I have been doing these paintings and sketches, essentially just faces. Uh, but the thing is that, I do not have that collection currently with me. It's just that I give away as gifts to
Mm,
people. Earlier, I
right.
didn't really
Giving
realize that
first.
what would I be, doing in future. That point
Mm,
of time, it was just a source of releasing my emotions on canvas.
right. That sounds great. I mean, but in fact, that sort of like raises a question, right? Because
Hmm.
when you go on to Road to Sangam, cheap plug right there, and you actually go and view Swati's art there, you see so many different kinds of paintings featured, right?
Hmm.
Some
Hmm.
involve animals,
Hmm. Hmm.
landscape,
Hmm.
some are abstract, some also
Right.
include religious figures. So, like,
Hmm.
where do these influences come from? Like, you talk about faces being the primary mode of
Yeah.
inspiration, right? Like, so where do all of these different inspirations come from?
It completely depends upon my mood, honestly. My
Okay.
current state of mind will actually guide what I'll be doing next. So if I'm like really troubled or something is bothering me and I need to release that, it's going to be an abstract.
Right.
But if I really like a character and I want to, show my appreciation for that character, I would just
Hmm.
sit down for hours and sketch him or her.
So it's more instinctive then, I presume. Like,
Yes,
depending on
it's
what's
yes,
stimulating you, you then produce a specific kind of art. Is that fair to
yeah,
say?
yes, pretty much.
So then,
Because
like you, yeah, sorry, continue.
no, so I have been also indulging with a lot of flowers and trying impasto knife painting and all that. But
Hmm.
that in that particular phase, I was really attracted to nature.
Hmm.
And I was traveling a lot. I was clicking a lot of pictures, especially sunsets and different flowers, orchids, dahlias. And I was really attracted to these petals and how they folded and how the shadow and light play with them, and it was really interesting. So I started with sunflower and started with roses, and then that was another phase of me where I was only doing flowers.
Mm.
So I keep myself abreast with various forms and techniques of painting. I don't kind of categorize myself as only a particular type of a painter.
So
I like to indulge myself in all kinds of painting forms.
right. So I mean, you talked about techniques, right? You talked about some form of structure as well. So like, did you receive any formal training down the
No,
years?
no.
Are there specific artists
There
that
was
you followed and learned from, perhaps? Then?
Yeah, I mean, I remember in college days there was this lady who used to come, and she used to just help me understand the dynamics of sketching a face, and she would help me understand what colors to use, how.
Mm.
And it was only for a year or something, and then I moved on to my PR education and stuff like that. So I couldn't pursue with her. It was a very short stint of 1 year, and it was hardly once a week that she used to come.
Right.
So that was only formal training, if you can call it. But
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, I haven't received any training from anyone. It was
Right.
all self-taught, just guided by what my heart desires, and I just follow that.
That's again,
So
yeah. That's
yeah.
again something that's quite interesting, right? Because like I have a theory. I feel
Yeah.
like there's certain thoughts or feelings that are invoked within us that can't be
Yes.
shared in a conversation, which is why some of us choose to express ourselves through our art, right? Like I
Yeah.
personally love writing poetry, and more often
Right.
than not, I'm inspired to write poetry when I have a deep thought, when I have a very deep emotion. I'm
Hmm.
trying to find words here. Clearly, my vocabulary is failing me, but I think you get my point, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
I do.
there's something that is strong and powerful. So perhaps
Yes.
like you could share a story where you did feel something strong and powerful, and that translated into something that you were really proud of.
Yeah. So it need not necessarily be just painting. Okay. The
Okay.
way I release my emotions is not just through paintings, and
Hmm.
I started writing ghazals, and that was a big achievement for me because I was able to express myself clearly in ghazals. And that was an outlet. That was a kind of an outlet that I was looking for.
Mm.
Then when I realized that the
Can I just
ghazal,
like make a very
yeah.
cheap joke by saying "wah wah" at this point and letting you continue? Sorry, go on.
No, you have to say Irshad.
Isha, sorry, my bad, my bad. Is there an adab somewhere also, or am I just
आधा वर्ष है.
okay, perfect. All right, so just on cue. Perfect. All right, sorry to
Yeah, so
interrupt you. Please go. Yeah,
I realized that, even writing ghazals followed a discipline and it followed a structure, and any deviation wouldn't that particular piece will no longer be a ghazal if I would deviate from that structure.
right. So,
Then I started writing short stories. And when I started writing short stories, I realized that I was able to express even more with
mhm,
ease.
mhm, so you could
So,
perhaps like pen down your thoughts in the form of a character and,
yes,
and
that's
live through that
exactly what I
character
did.
vicariously of
Yes,
sorts. But like
yes,
again,
yes.
Swati, going back to my question, like, could you
Yeah.
seek out one memory from your treasure chest of memories where you had a powerful experience which you're willing to share with us and the world that actually translated into a particular piece of art? Okay, there's just silence.
Okay.
Me.
No, no. Okay. So there is this blogger. His name is Philip John,
Okay.
and I am an ardent follower and fan of his because
Mm-hmm.
I love what he writes and the way he expresses with his not just words but also pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So even before I met him, I had the opportunity to actually meet him in person. But even before I had met him, I had this urge, this real urge to sketch him,
Mm-hmm.
and that particular sketch, I remember I took hardly 7 days to finish that sketch. I kept redoing it. I kept putting on layers. I kept
Oh.
erasing. I kept, so I just wanted it to be perfect somehow because
Mm-hmm.
my the whole attraction towards his words was so strong that I wanted to just sketch him. I just wanted that
Right.
man in front of me,
Am I sensing a
and
bit of a crush here?
I used to have a crush on him. So it's gone.
Did you end up
The
showing
moment
him
I
the sketch
actually,
though?
yeah, I sketched him, and I remember he had his first exhibition at MG Road Rangoli Art Center,
Mm-hmm.
and I went there in person, and I gifted that sketch to him,
Mm-hmm.
and also bought a piece of his art, and it was amazing. That
What was his
experience was
reaction?
amazing.
That'd be very
He
interesting.
he was overwhelmed. He was absolutely overwhelmed, and he just didn't expect me to do that. And it was not just a sketch; it was a lot of emotions
It was sort
that
of like
I
a
was
love
feeling
letter.
at that point of time
Yeah.
for his writing. Because if you actually know the person, he writes from a female point of view. All his writings are strangely from a female point of view, and I couldn't believe for a man to actually understand a woman so intensely, with so much of depth,
Hey, hey, hey.
and express it with such ease.
A few men like him and
So
myself do understand it. All right. I'm just gonna let you know that, and all my lady listeners, I hope you noted that down. All right. That's great. Someone single and available. Okay, but quickly moving back on the
yeah,
topic. So I
yeah,
think one interesting thing that perhaps was brought out through this conversation is that an inspiration can come from anywhere. And more
yeah,
often than not, when that inspiration translates into a piece of art, you do end up sharing it with the world
yeah,
or sharing it with the person that inspired that art.
yeah.
So, how does an artist like yourself then perhaps prepare for criticism or feedback? Because I suppose the more you express yourself, the bigger audience you give yourself, you are
Hmm.
likely to receive some criticism or feedback, right? So, like, how do you prepare yourself to actually react to
See, the thing is, when you're a self-taught artist,
that? Hmm.
okay, it's no longer a criticism for you. It is just a feedback for you.
Okay.
I don't see it as a criticism, because if someone even says that, this nose didn't come out well, or the eyes could have been lighter, or something like that, or any kind of, comment would come over, and I would actually accept it with grace, because I know that I
So
am not
come on, Swati.
technically trained for that.
So
So
you're
I just
telling me that there
accept
was
it.
never like a thought in your mind where someone went like, yeah, the nose could have been a little sharper in your mind, like expletive. Like, clearly, I'm not even pronouncing words correct, but you get my point. Like a
Yeah.
lot of unpleasant words, and then you do it yourself, then sort of thing. No.
Not at all. In fact, all the people who actually give me comments and feedbacks are so sweet, and
Right,
they all of them, more often than not, frame it in such a positive way that you actually want to learn from them.
right.
You know, there is
Okay.
actually one particular person whose name is Monochrome Nirvana. He's an absolute fantastic painter, and he's
Uh-huh.
also part of
That is
Road to
cool.
Sangam. His name is Arun, and I used to share this.
Go to Sanka,
Yeah,
platform for
he's
everyone.
also.
Sorry, cheap plug. All right, continue.
So, in fact, we wanted to go to Kaban Park, sit together, sketch together, learn from each other, and give positive feedbacks and stuff like that. So,
I hope your husband not in the earshot, because like I can clearly like sense him like sweating a little bit with one your crush of this blogger who
oh
understands
no,
women
no.
in these park
the
dates
the
with
the
another
crush
sketch
and the
artist.
blogger are the same person, and he already knows it because Philip John's sketch was there on my page.
Wow. Do you have a sketch of your husband on your page?
No.
Okay, swiftly moving on from this topic, so that we do not, cause any rifts in your marriage. So, I mean, you talk about people giving you a lot of feedback, right? Like
Yeah,
people
yeah,
being constructive and laying it out there for you.
yeah.
How educated do you think people are about art in your surroundings or in your circles?
Pretty much, I would say. Pretty
Oh,
much. They are much, much more experienced than me. Although there are few people who are not as experienced,
mm-hmm.
but those they don't end up actually giving you any kind of feedback or a constructive feedback because they are
Right.
also on a different level. See, we all grow on different levels.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, usually the feedback that I get are from more experienced artists
Right.
who actually see potential in me and they say that, if you would do something like this, it would come out much better.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I
So,
mean, you're an artist, right? You try and convey thoughts and feelings through your artworks. Has
yeah.
there ever come a point where you felt that a particular thought or feeling is too provocative or too controversial to actually then put on paper? Like, has there
Yes.
ever been one of those experiences, and would you mind sharing
Yes.
it?
No, so actually during my college days, I was really attracted to women, figures of women, generally nude women,
Mm-hmm.
and or with just those Bengali saris, which were like really flimsy and
Ah,
white color around and everything. So
right.
I was really, really attracted to those kind of portraits and those kind of figures, and I wanted to do that. But being in a joint family is just that I couldn't make myself. Um, you know
Actually sketch them or paint them
I
as
would
provocatively.
silently sketch them in my book, but not put it on canvas. I
Right.
would secretly sketch it because I really, really want to do it, and but I would not put it on canvas.
But that sort of raises an interesting discussion, right? Like, do you feel that above and beyond not, getting the ear of your parents or your family members, is it okay then to put up things that might come across as provocative or evoke a certain feeling of controversy or disdain, even if it's just a form of artistic expression?
I think it's fine. It just a piece of art,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
it is just an expression of an artist. So I don't think there should be any problem with that. Uh, but
So,
with
for example, would you
con.
be okay to have
Hmm.
nudes, for example,
I would
up
be
on big
honestly now
banners
I'm pretty
outside
okay with
museums?
it. Now I'm pretty okay with it
So,
because
if your child, for example, sees paintings which are of, say, nude women or men
yeah,
or
yeah,
sculptures or,
yeah,
things like that, would you be okay with that?
yeah. I'm really fine with it now.
Okay, so you think it's an
Yeah.
interesting way of perhaps stimulating an important discussion?
Yes, of course. Because see, there's no point actually hiding and shoving off things.
Mm-hmm.
It's all kind of exposure I feel is necessary in today's life because it gives you a sense of what you want and what you don't want. It gives you a sense of do you want to pursue this or you don't want to pursue this.
Mm-hmm.
So just having your hands dirty once is a good idea.
Both literally and figuratively, I assume. Actually,
So, yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's great to hear. I mean, because I feel that there's so many sensors out there, both organized as well as informal or unorganized sensors to stop us
Yeah, yeah.
expressing ourselves. So for people like you to actually encourage not just your peers but also your children to perhaps pursue any form
Yes.
of art that might represent anything or any topic is very refreshing to hear.
Y-
So
Yes,
I mean,
it is. I'm really fine with discussing anything with my daughter currently, because whatever she comes up with, whatever she's feeling, no matter how bizarre it will be, my
mhm, mhm,
expression will never be, "Oh my God, what are you talking? Shut up." My expression will never be this.
absolutely, and
And
it's
my,
these.
my I am more often than not, "Oh really? Something like this happens?" I'll actually try to come become a fool in front of her that I don't know anything. You are the most knowledgeable person. Tell me what you know.
Right. So that you can perhaps correct any misperception that the child
Yes.
might hold. Absolutely. That makes a lot of
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
So that sort of like makes me segue into the final session of this lovely conversation.
Yeah.
And because as Indians, we've been accustomed to for any TV interview or conversation to end with a rapid fire, I
Oh
prepared
my
one of
God.
my own.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, so
Really?
you're not getting a prize or anything, but you'll definitely
Okay.
get my admiration if you're honest and keep the show going basically with your
I'll be
entertaining
honest. Don't
as
worry.
well.
Hmm.
All right. So paintings or poetry?
Both.
Okay, you already started off on the wrong foot, indecisive, diplomatic. But okay, let's hope that the second question brings out a better, more entertaining answer. Your
Huh.
favorite muse?
A woman. A
A
back of
woman.
a woman. Yeah.
Back of a woman. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds sensual and poetic at the same time. A
Yeah.
guilty pleasure that you like to indulge
Um, Mishti doi.
in. I was hoping for a naughtier answer, but nonetheless, if you had to paint a nude, who would you
Hmm.
choose, living or dead?
Actually, no one. I would paint a nude. It would be an imaginary character, no face actually.
Right. So you probably would give the character the form that you desire the most, or a
Yes,
form
yes.
you. Okay, all right. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Complete these sentences. I paint too.
Release my emotions.
Okay. I think Dash is an overrated artist.
Oh my God. No, 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 no. I
Well,
don't know.
no, but I'm sure checking this person out and deciding for myself whether he or she is overrated. Uh, I find inspiration
I'm sad.
when you're sad. Okay, wow,
Yeah.
that's quite interesting. I mean, so many of us
Mm.
use heartbreak as the ultimate muse. Makes sense. Finally, and this could perhaps get you all the redemption points you need in order to like perhaps get away from a 5 on 10, 6 on 10 rapid fire segment.
Mm-hmm.
Serenade me with a poem,
Oh,
sorry. Please.
no.
I'm
Oh
looking to be
no.
serenaded. Maybe
No.
a ghazal, a beautiful line from a ghazal that you think would be appropriate to, like, serenade me or to tell me what you feel about me.
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that's the reaction of stimulating people. Oh my God. I mean, that can be a positive way. I mean, it depends on the tonality, of course.
No,
So
since we are
we'll end
talking
it with,
about artists and inspirations and teachers and everything, I would actually like to end with a very a share of mine which
okay.
talks about teachers and how I expect a
For
teacher to be.
for all of you who don't understand what sher is, it's basically a music
A cup.
in the Hindi
It's a
version.
couplet.
A couplet. All right. Fair enough. Yep.
Yes. So I wrote this 5 years back when I was actually learning from my ustads, my
Mm-hmm.
teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So घमंड में चूर होके कोई शिक्षक बन नहीं सकता.
Wow.
ओके. घमंड में चूर होकर कोई शिक्षक बन नहीं सकता. गुरु गर हो तो मस्तक को झुकाना भी जरूरी है.
Wow.
So this is my share for all the teachers out there.
Wonderful. And I think that's a
Thank you.
brilliant note to bid adieu. I hope all of you who've been listening or who will rather listen to this podcast really enjoyed our conversation. I know I did. Swati Awasthi
Me too.
happens absolutely. Swati Awasthi happens to have her art featured on this lovely platform that I just can't remember the name of. Swati, help me with it.
Road to Sangam.
Road to Sangam,
Yeah.
exactly. This brilliant platform that features art from poets, from photographers, from painters, from sketch artists, from digital artists, basically any artist who chooses to express himself or herself. So feel free to join us on our next podcast, which will feature another brilliant artist, much like Swati. And we can hope to continue to walk on this road with all of you. Thank you so much for your time, Swati.
Thank you,
And
Annie. It was a
I
pleasure, really.
wish
I
you a great
enjoyed.
evening.
And
I
you
hope I've made
definitely
up for
made
the
up for
deep.
the. Yes, you did.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. All right, thank you. And can you tell all our female viewers, the last thing that you want to tell all our female viewers is how sexy my baritone is, like how appealing that voice that you've been hearing on the other end of the phone is. Could you please tell all our female viewers something about that?
It's not sexy at all.
Okay, bye bye, Swati. Bye bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye.